Hey folks, it's Nate. Thanks for joining me once more as we look to the horizon. And today we're back with another writing vlog. This update is going to be pretty brief as well, but I have good news to report on all fronts. First, I heard back from the editor I've been trying to hire to edit Burning Bright, and we've got things set up. She's going to start going through the manuscript. In fact, she's already started leaving some comments on it in the shared document we're using. So I hope to have that worked out soon. It's a kind of a loose soon. Um, Deadline to have everything done is the middle of March, but this is freelance work. I could get it whenever. Um, that's just the way things work. And I am looking forward to seeing the comments. I know that the lady that I've hired is a very intelligent storyteller and has had a lot to say on a bunch of different fiction. I've heard her discuss these things with her husband on their YouTube channel quite a bit, and I found her insights there very useful. And so I'm hoping to get the same on my own writing. Anyways, that process is underway. And I think once I'm done with her feedback, I will try and recruit a couple more test readers and run it past them as I work on getting a cover made. So we're ticking along. Um, I think that an April release date for the book is not overly ambitious, and I'm going to continue to say that is my goal for this year. Um, I'm going to say maybe April 15th. Just put a round date on it, or whatever Friday. Is it Friday good? I don't. I'm not really. I don't follow publishing as closely as I used to, so I don't know what day of the week books typically come out on. I think it's a Tuesday. Um, Something to look at. Yeah, and since it's going to start life as an ebook, because I don't think you can start as a print on demand on Amazon, that's something I'll have to look at as we get closer to the actual publishing. But since it's going to start as an ebook, the date of release is perhaps not as important as it would be for a physical book because there's no logistical setup that you have to do there. And that is one of the benefits of self-publishing. Anyways, that process is going, and I'm excited about it. As for Fire and Gold, which is the Roy Harper adventure that I'm currently publishing on the blog, I am probably 2/3 of the way through chapter 6, more or less. It's a action chapter, and those can grow. Is probably the best way to put it. They can spiral out of control, and you can wind up with 2 chapters where you thought you had 1. So we'll see how everything there unfolds. Just there's a lot of description in action scenes. There's a lot of trying to make sure the audience understands the logic of what the characters are deciding to do, and a lot of describing the environment and the way the characters interact with it. And all of that can be done in a visual medium like television or even comics in a very small amount of real estate. But in prose, it can spiral out into thousands of words when you were just like, on my outline, this is 2 bullet points. So I've had that happen many times, and as I've said before, I am getting better at predicting how it's going to turn out. So I think chapter 6 will just be 1 chapter, and we will follow one of our villains as he faces his ignoble defeat, and that will be chapter 6, and then chapter 7, our last villain, will also go down in ignoble defeat, or perhaps surrender. You never know. Some villains are more reasonable than others. We'll see. But, yes, so we're going to wrap up this story. It's been an interesting experience writing things from the point of view of the antagonist of the story rather than the protagonist of the story, especially because the protagonist has just appeared on screen, as it were, at the end of chapter 5. So, yeah, it's been very interesting, and I've had to really keep in mind all the elements of how the characters are acting. I actually have a map of the homestead and the way characters are sneaking around outside of each other's sight to help me keep track of things and not put people where they shouldn't be. But finally, finally, I don't have to do that anymore, and it's really kind of a weight off my shoulders. I think now that I think about it, because I was trying so hard to make sure the pieces lined up, and I'm sure they don't perfectly. It is, the fiction I publish on my blog is more of a rough draft, and that will probably, if it ever gets published in a formal fashion, undergo significant revision before I do publish it to iron out logical inconsistencies and to introduce clarity where things were unclear. It's just part of the game. You really you need more than a second draft, which is what usually gets up on my blog. I will type something out to get the story down, go through, and I will give it a quick polish, but there's still a lot of rough edges in there, and I'm very aware of that fact. So, anyways, I like the way the story has developed. I am looking forward to being done with it. It's not fun to write from the point of view of these villains, as I think I've said before. And while chapters 6 and 7 will be from their perspective, the epilogue, not really a chapter 8, but more of a conclusion to tell us what happened to Roy Harper and his allies afterward, and kind of explain where he got some of the stuff he's using and how he got assigned to the job, just in case the audience was wondering those things. And that will, I think, be the story. And after that, I think I will only take 1 week off because this was a shorter writing project. So I will take a week off, and then there will be some essays. I have a number of topics that I think are worthwhile talking about. I'm going to start the essays I want to do on the subject of collaboration. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Joe Rogan, who is just lots of interesting lessons for anyone there who wants to be a communicator in any fashion. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what I have learned about genre. And people who have read my blog for a long time know that I had an ongoing series I called Generally Speaking, which was where I talked about genres and what I kind of meant when I used them. And I found that I myself don't care to categorize my stories in genres. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why that is. Because I think it's an interesting subject, and it shows the difference between writer and audience. Because when I'm an audience member, I have almost no problem putting a story in a genre and just saying, well, that's what it is, right there. Or taking two genres and saying, it's on top of these, like a board resting on two pillars or something like that. There's a lot of good analogies for the way genres work and how they help you classify and quickly understand a story. What I've learned more and more is that as a writer, they don't do you anything at all. And I'm going to talk again more about that. But yeah, so the thumbnail of that discussion is going to be genres. Great for talking about stories, not great for building them. So something to look forward there if that whets your interest. I have a number of other things that I want to talk about as well, and I'm going to do a roundup of stories I recommend, because I do one of those every time I've read some stuff, and I think I'm going to lean pretty heavily on comics this time. I think that's always a great topic to discuss, and if you follow my Art Table Talk channel, you know that that's mostly what I talk about over there, visual art, stuff like that. So that is the plan for the blog coming up, and yeah, I think it'll be enough to take me through to roughly the point, I think, where I hope to have Burning Bright out. So, and I will also be doing a promotional post on there once that's ready to launch, and I will talk a little bit about the secret origins of Burning Bright, the world of Cogni, and what I'm hoping to accomplish with that story, and potentially other stories in the same world. So, yeah, that's all I got for you this week. So hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, there's a like button and a subscribe button down below. You can use those as you see fit, and I'll talk to you later.